friends, it's just Martine and welcome to a recent reads video. Although there are a lot of books that I talk about on my channel, whether it be in a secret TBR or a random reading vlog for a readathon or just a weekly reading vlog, there are some books I read that you never hear about. And if you've made the wise decision to follow me on Goodreads, which is always linked down below if you want to check it out, then you might know some of the books that I read otherwise that I never tell you about. And as I went into this new year, I wanted to find a way to fix that. A couple people suggested that I do recent reads. If you've watched my video on booktube videos that I don't make or anticipate ever making, Wrapups, it's on that list. Wrapups are on that list. And a recent reads is kind of like a wrap up. So first, I was like, maybe not gonna do it. But what I'm talking about in the video about booktube videos that I don't make is the traditional style of wrap up. And lots of people have been doing different kinds of wrap ups nowadays. They do it their own way, so I'm gonna do it my own way. These are just some recent reads. My friend Bailey does her wrap ups in a way where she like goes from lowest rated to highest rated. I like that idea, so I'm taking it. Every recent reads video, I'm going to talk about around 5 books that I've read, maybe not recently. I mean, it'll probably be pretty recently, but they're not like the 5 consecutive books I read. They're recent books that you haven't heard about. And I'm going to go from lowest to highest. I'm going to tell you some of my thoughts about it. I'm going to tell you my rating, and I'm going to tell you maybe who should check out that book, and it'll be a good time. The first book that I want to talk about for this particular video is Sentient by Wendy Koenig. I don't know how to pronounce that last name, so my apologies. And I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars. So as far as low ratings go, this recent reads has some pretty high ratings. In my notes about Sentient, it literally says, I don't even remember the names of the people. And that's true. I don't remember a single one of the characters' names. So my ability to give you a good sense of what this book is about is maybe not present, but I'm going to do it anyway. The very basic premise of this book is that you've got this group of people. They're kind of in the military, but the military is a little bit different anyway because they're in space. And they're on this mission to a different planet, not to colonize it, but basically the like recolonization of the planet. They're scoping it out. And they go on this mission and then somebody dies. And it's actually, I think it's the boyfriend of the main character who dies first, but I could be entirely wrong. But anyway, he dies and things are suspicious around him and they don't know what's happening, and then a lot of stuff goes down and there's betrayal and weird stuff. It's kind of like a mystery, but it's kind of not. Then there's suddenly a mysterious disease, but I remember very little of that. And quote, it was fine. Now, I specifically listened to the audiobook for this for the narration, to like review the narration. The narration was great, fantastic, and a good time. So if you're going to read this book, I highly recommend doing it via audiobook. And it was definitely a quick read. The audiobook was like 4 hours long or something like that. And it was relatively fun. Now, who should read this? If you're okay with military groups in your reads and you like science fiction, you like a bit of betrayal, then I would recommend this to you. The second book that I have to talk to you about today is A Temporary Ghost by Michaela Thompson. Originally, this book was published under the author name of Mickey Friedman, I believe, but I have it as part of a mystery bind up, and I've read the first one and this is the second one in it, so yeah, basically. This one was a pretty predictable mystery in the end. You generally knew what was happening, but it was really fun and it was a really easy read. Sometimes you have a predictable read and it's also not an easy read, and so it's just kind of a slog for nothing. But this was not like that. This series in general is about this American journalist who moves to Paris, and then a bunch of stuff happens. She's caught up in a bunch of crime. I mean, she doesn't do the crime, but she happens to be around when crimes happen. She kind of investigates them. It's definitely an accidental PI type of series, and I'm not sure whether or not it should count as a cozy mystery series, but I find it to be pretty cozy, an easy, light read. If that's what you define as a cozy mystery, then it's definitely a cozy mystery. If not, then I don't know. But in this one specifically, she travels to Provence and she stays at this, it's basically an Airbnb with this family, and she's there because she's ghostwriting a book for the matriarch of the family who has been accused of killing her husband. The woman needs money, quite frankly, and so she's like, I'm going to write this book and you're going to ghostwrite it, and we're finally going to tell my side of the story. And it becomes very clear that appearances are not what they seem. You know, Wizards of Waverly Place, everything is not what it seems. Then there's suddenly a death, and the main character is like, what is going on? And it just kind of unfolds from there. Who should read this? If you like fun, light mysteries, like you're not in it to be surprised, but you want like a mystery book that's enjoyable and easy to get through, then I definitely recommend this one. It's also like, it was a pretty fast read for me. I don't know. And I enjoyed the character and the setting of Provence. That's it. My next two books got the same rating, but I've got very different feelings about them. So these next two are in no particular order. But first I'm going to talk about Lethal Lobster by Hope Callahan. So I gave this 3.5 stars, and it was a really fun and quick cozy mystery. This one is definitely a cozy mystery. It takes place on a cruise ship, and it's like marketed as a cozy mystery series. So you know that's what you're in for. This is technically the third in the series. You absolutely do not need to read any of the previous books to know exactly what is happening in this one, which is great for me because I didn't. I got this one for free. I haven't had the others for free, so I just read this one. I understood it from front to back, easy, good. There were a couple threads that are like clear that it makes it like a series, but all of those were recapped well enough that it really didn't matter. And I particularly liked that I read this one out of the series because, spoiler alert, no one actually dies. There's just attempted murder. And I don't know why, but I found that to be interesting. The basic premise of this one is that Millie, who is the assistant director of a cruise ship, she's also like an accidental PI situation. I believe she's maybe former law enforcement. She's like older now, but I think she's former law enforcement. Anyway, she's on this cruise ship directing activities, and then her friend, who's the head chef, starts getting accused of poisoning people because a bunch of people are coming down with food poisoning from this chef's food. But Millie is like, wait, hold up a second. Her contract's almost up. She hasn't got offered a new contract. Who else here is applying for that contract? And maybe those people are trying to frame her friend as poisoning other people. That's the basics of the story. The setting of the cruise was so fun. I loved it. I've personally never been on a cruise, which is something I hope to someday remedy, but while I can't, this was still fun. And I'd read more from this series if I had the opportunity to, if my budget allowed it, for instance. I definitely read more of them because they were fun. Also, I listened to this one as an audiobook for the narration specifically. Again, great narration. This one was also only like 4.5 hours. So really fun and really fast. I also loved how passionate all the characters were about their jobs. Like they all loved their jobs. And I think it's really rare to see in media of any kind, people who actually enjoy what they do. But so many of the characters were like, I love my job. Or the main character was like, I really love what I do. And I'm so glad I get to do it. And I love the people that I do it with. And I just loved that energy. It was like, yes, give me that energy. Give me that positive energy. There's enough negative energy in the real world. I'm gonna go into this fake attempted murder book, which seems like it wouldn't be positive, and get some positivity out of it because it's a cozy mystery. So I need to be lightened by this. I need to feel good after I read this. And I did. I felt very good after reading this. But at the end of the day, it was a cozy mystery. I gave it 3.5 stars. Who should read The Lethal Lobster? If you're open to cozy mysteries and you like the vibes of a cruise ship, read it. End of story. Also getting 3.5 stars is Her Perfect Family by Teresa Driscoll. I believe I got this as an Amazon First Reads pick, but don't quote me on that. Not that it's really important, but like, I pride myself in remembering how I acquired books for some reason, which is a niche thing to be proud of. You know, there are things I could be proud of myself for that I'm not proud of myself for. Instead, I pride myself on being like, this ebook I downloaded from this specific thing, which is totally useless. I gave it 3.5. I think this is marketed as a thriller. It's told in multiple points of view. The chapters are very short, which I enjoyed. That especially makes it a good book to read before you fall asleep at night. If I end up reading a book right before bed that has long chapters, it's like suddenly that's when I'm exhausted. I can read for like 10 minutes and be like, I'm ready to go to bed. If it's short chapters, I read for like an hour, I get some solid reading in, and once I do get tired, I don't have to wait for like 20 minutes to get to the end of the chapter, and I don't have to stop in the middle of the chapter. I just finish the like 1 minute I have left to the end of the chapter, and it's all good. So this had lovely short chapters. This had two different modes of thinking for me. One, it was fun. It was a definite page turner. I was interested to see what happened. On the other end, I'm not sure how original this was, and I'm not sure how much people who like thrillers more than I do would feel about this one. Like, I genuinely have no idea. I wish I could tell you, but I can't. This book is about a family, if you couldn't tell from the title, and it's about her, if you also couldn't tell. And her in the title is referring to, I don't even remember her name. Oh, heck. It's about, I can't call her the main character because there were several main characters. It's about this girl, and she's a senior in college, and she's graduating college. Her family goes to see her graduation, and she gets shot at her graduation ceremony, which, as somebody graduating very soon, is terrifying. I did not like that image being put in my head. Nevertheless, she gets shot, she goes into this deep, deep coma, and the investigation begins. Who shot her and why? And one of the very first things that we discover when she gets admitted to the hospital and she goes into her coma is the doctors are like, it's okay, she's stable now, she is in a coma, but the baby is okay. And the family's like, excuse me? And that's because they didn't know that she was pregnant. So this book is half a whose baby is this? Aside from hers, obviously. We know that it's hers, but like, who else made this baby? And then it's like, who shot her? Are those two things related? If so, how and why? And there are some people in the past of the parents that are like weird and suspicious, and so it's all like, oh, I should have told the police this. Now I'm telling the police are telling me, why didn't you tell me this before? It's also interesting because there's a private investigator who's one of the main characters in this book, and he actually collaborates with the police. He was former law enforcement, and then they like hire him back for this job, which is an interesting dynamic. Yeah, it was an enjoyable time. Who should read this? Again, if you're looking for fast, so many of these were just fast books. If you're looking for fast books, this is the video for you. If you like short chapters, thrillers with short chapters. I can't say I predicted the ending at all, and I'm not sure if that was a case of it was not set up well enough, or if it was just a like, she got me type thing. If you're interested, look into it. It's a newer release, which I don't usually read. And finally, I got some great news. There is a 5-star read. And the 5-star read is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune, which is actually the first of these books that I read, so it's the longest ago, but the main character's name is Walter, and that's how you know it was a 5-star book, because I remember not all, but a few of the names of characters from this book. And this I describe in my notes as having like the Ebenezer Scrooge type archetype character, but not Christmas, and he grows not out of fear, but out of love, which reminds me of the song Louder Than Words from Tick, Tick, Boom. Fear or love, baby, don't say the answer. Anyway, I feel like Ebenezer Scrooge grows out of fear of death, and Walter in this grows more out of love, which, to be fair, it's hard to be afraid of death when you're dead. And that's the case with Walter. We get like one chapter where he's alive and miserly, and then he's dead. And he's in this in-between place, and he's led by this ferryman. Back up. There's this reaper named May, and she takes him to meet with his assigned ferryman, and the ferryman is a real person like in the real world and can still interact with real people but can also see these dead people, and the ferrymen are supposed to help the dead people acclimate to being dead so that they can go through the whispering door and into the rest of eternity, right? Like mentally prepare. So basically the idea of why be prepared to die before you die when you could prepare to die after you have died. I like this book a lot for a number of reasons. One, TJ Klune's writing style is always great. Two, I listened to it on audiobook, which is exactly how I listened to The House in the Cerulean Sea, and the vibes for both audiobooks were immaculate. Additionally, I liked that it was this idea of grieving for your own life, not only the life that you had, but the life that you could have had, and thinking about the things that you never got to do, and also considering what type of person you would have been if you had met certain other people when you had been alive instead of after you died. I also really enjoyed the idea of the in-between that prepared you to move on. I found that very comforting. I loved how much tea was in this book. As far as tea drinkers go, I'm not a very avid one, but it's a very comforting thing, tea is. And there was so much tea in this book. The ferryman that's assigned to Walter's case, his name is Hugo, and I love him. And he runs a tea shop, and he's lovely, and whenever a new dead person comes to his house, this sounds so weird, whenever a new dead person comes to Hugo's house, he can tell what type of tea he should serve them. And it's usually associated with a memory of theirs, but he like goes by his teas and he's like, this one feels like the right tea for this person. And Walter's was peppermint tea, and peppermint tea is a superior type of tea. So it's like, yes, Walter, you might have been a miser, but this is good taste. There was this saying that's on the wall of the tea shop that's like, the first time you have tea with someone, you're a stranger, the second time you're a friend, the third time you're family. And I liked how that circled back in the book over and over. It was really wholesome and really good and bittersweet and melancholy and all of those things. And I just loved it. If you like The House on the Cerulean Sea, I think there's a chance you'll like this. There are not as many characters that are quite as quirky as The House on the Cerulean Sea, but there are still lots of characters with lots of quirks, and I love them. May is the like cute, adorable one that TJ Klune always has in his books. Hugo is like the silent but strong and buff man. Walter is the grouch, obviously. And then, is his name Linus? I'm forgetting everybody's names. Anyway, the old man, he's great too. He's kind of a mentor figure in a way, anyway. And this book is also queer, which we love. And so there are just lots of things to love about it, and all those things I did love about it. So I highly recommend it to everyone, just saying. So that's going to be it for this recent reads video. If you liked it, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and comment down below. Have you read any of these books? If so, what did you think of them? If not, which ones are you interested in? And subscribe for more reading, writing, and college lifestyle content. And until next time, bye humans, bye!